It's a music video that makes you pause and reflect, that challenges you to feel and not just think. Sandra Sutter's song Indian in the Child is from her 2018 album Cluster Stars, but just this month her brother Trevor Sutter created a music video for the song from images Sandra had gathered along the way. Now, Sandra was adopted into the Sutter family when she was just 4 months old and reconnected with her Indigenous birth family decades later. Both Sandra and Trevor join me now. Hi there.
Hi, Shauna.
So, Sandra, I want to start by asking you what first inspired your song, Indian in the Child?
An emotional story. I was attending Truth and Reconciliation events in Calgary when they were in Calgary, different kinds of events that were held. And at one of these events, I was having lunch with Vincent Yellow Old Woman, who was the chief at Siksika First Nation just outside of Calgary. It had been quite an emotional time. Chief turned to me and he asked me at our lunch that we were having, "You're a songwriter, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, Chief, I am." And he said, "Could you write a song for me?" And I said, "I don't know. What would you like me to write it about?" And he said, "I'd like you to write me a song with these 6 words in it." And he said, "And I'd like you to end it on a positive note." And then he said, "Kill the Indian in the child." And I got chills up my spine because I had literally just written those words down in my portfolio to write a song about those words.
Wow. So it clearly came from a place of deep emotion and a time when you were hearing so many stories from residential school survivors. I wonder how it feels now for you, in the wake of all of these discoveries this summer of hundreds of unmarked graves on residential school sites. How has that kind of deepened your sense of connection to the song?
There's so many conversations going on, some of them good, some of them not good, most of them supportive, a lot of uptake on deeper understanding and wanting to find ways to more deeply understand what happened and how to get to where we want to be. So we need to look at the truth of where we are. For me, Chief Vincent is back in the picture related to the discoveries of the unmarked graves. And I'm using air quotes as I say the word discoveries because, of course, Indigenous peoples have been saying that the children are there for many, many, many years. But emotionally, it's an opportunity to recognize that Creator has given us a gift to work together to find a way forward. It's horribly unnerving. I don't know about you, Shauna, but I could barely watch the news or look at postings or news links on the internet about the unmarked graves because it was so difficult to absorb that information and the emotions that everyone is feeling about that horrible, horrible truth that we need to look at.
Yeah, I kind of forced myself to, and I forced myself to cry and feel what I had to feel because, of course, there's that reckoning inside for all of us, I think, who are not Indigenous, whose culture wasn't destroyed. Trevor, has that been some of what's been coming up for you as well in recent days?
I've got a bit of a different set of emotions. A little bit of anger boils over me when I think about it because, as a former reporter with the Regina Lear Post, I had a long history of reporting on widespread abuse in Indian residential schools. And I did those stories throughout the 1990s, and they really didn't get the public attention that I felt they deserved at the time.
Yeah.
At most, they were viewed as isolated incidents caused by a few bad apples who ran the school. More often, they were dismissed and met with public indifference. And it was really frustrating at the time, and now the abuse wasn't seen for what it really was. And it was a byproduct of government-driven policy aimed at killing the Indian in the child, as Sandra's word piece mentions. And this included depriving children of their culture, their language, their spirituality, as well as teaching them to reject the ways of their parents and their elders. So that's why I'm so passionate about this issue, and I jumped at the opportunity to turn Sandra's powerful words into a video.
It's a really, really powerful video, and in the video you feature all kinds of archival images that Sandra has gathered that reflect this legacy. There's also headlines and articles that you've written yourself that speak to this issue that you've been discussing. I wonder how you felt during all those hours, Trevor, when you sat down to work with those images and pair them with Sandra's lyrics.
Each time I went through it, tears rolled down my face.
Yeah.
The images are so powerful. It makes everything so real. And I'm hoping that it makes Canadians see what happened and be able to accept the truth and move toward reconciliation.
Sandra, I wonder, when you watched the finished version of the video for the first time, what was that experience like for you?
Powerful. I see those images and questions arise in my mind of who are those people? What are their stories? How can we do better? How can we move forward towards a better world that we can all appreciate one another in? But emotionally, I use some of those images as a backdrop for live performances. And when you do that at big shows, you have a monitor that shows you what's going on behind you, as well as so that you can see the audience and you can see what they're seeing. I cannot watch the backdrop of some of those images while I'm playing, or I can't perform emotionally because it's so impactful. And so, like Trevor said, I hope that they're a way for people to visually recognize and understand within themselves some of the deep issues that we need to explore.
Sandra, in your song lyrics, you say, "We are meant to walk together on the good red road of beauty." And I wonder what those lyrics mean to you.
In Indigenous ways of being and knowing, there's a different way that we look at the world. That cultural worldview, land-based worldview, is a part of who Indigenous people are. And when we talk about the good red road of beauty, we're talking about always being conscious that we are connected to everything that is and connected to the Creator. And we make a conscious choice every day to walk in a good way. That's the way of Indigenous peoples, traditional peoples, and I believe that's the way of all humans. But fear gets in the way of who we are sometimes. And I think that's part of what happened many, many years ago, is fear and ultimately controlling the actions of the people that made decisions that negatively impacted Indigenous people in Canada. Those lines mean we're in this together. We're all connected and we can do this together. There can be no divisiveness between peoples, or we won't be able to continue to live and function on the planet.
Trevor, I wonder why it's been important for you as Sandra's, adoptive white brother to be part of this journey, walking together on that good red road.
Well, as Sandra's older brother, it's my duty to always torment her. So I guess this is a way that I can pay her back for all the tormenting. I think if there's one good thing that came out of everything is that the government finally decided to create Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which Sandra participated in and listened to as well as I. And that was really a forum for residential school survivors to be able to finally tell their stories and begin the healing process. I think a lot of residential school survivors wouldn't speak of their experience back in the 1990s when I was reporting on it, out of shame, out of fear of not being believed, not wanting to relive the past, or even fear of being ostracized within their own communities. But I think we're past that now, and I think, like Sandra says, we're on the positive road toward healing and coming to understand our past, both from an Indigenous and a non-Indigenous world. So Sandra and I come at it from different perspectives. She's learned about it through communities, through talking to people. Me as more of an interested observer of facts when I was reporting on it. But nonetheless, we've come to the same conclusion, and that we have to move forward and we have to try to reconcile the past with the present.
It is easy to feel despairing about the damage that's been done to Indigenous people in Canada, and I'd like to close by asking each of you what gives you some measure of hope as you look to the future. Trevor, do you want to start?
I am seeing discussions among non-Indigenous people about what happened in the past, and they're not as dismissive as it used to be, those discussions, and the tone was not as defensive. It was open to listening and learning more. And I've seen people just on their own delve into it and look up good information about what happened. They've accessed truth and reconciliation sites, and that gives me pause for being positive that we're heading in the right direction this time.
And how about for you, Sandra? What gives you hope?
So many people are reaching out to ask what they can do to, as the Downey Wenjack Fund says, #do something. So many people are asking for educational resources. We're resurrecting a play called New Blood, the dance show that is based on Chief Vincent Yellow Old Woman's life and journey through residential school. There's a team of people who stepped up to help that with absolutely no encouragement needed. I think that what I'm seeing and experiencing is all sorts of people who are not Indigenous reaching out saying, what can I do? How can I do something? How can I support Indigenous peoples? Although it's a very trying time, it's also a time unlike any other in Canada's history where we can come together and get to know one another better, find a path forward. We're getting some uptake on people wanting to better understand difficult subject matter, and we get to help them see that that's a point in time and truth is important to understand before you can move towards reconciliation, towards that continuum.
Well, it's important work you're both doing, and I want to thank you for joining me today to talk a bit about it.
Thank you very much, Shauna.
Sandra Sutter and Trevor Sutter are siblings. Here's Sandra performing her song, Indian in the Child.
"6 years old on his first day of school, and emotions are running high. Mom and Dad are left home alone as he bids his parents goodbye. The shiny white building in a faraway place holds promise and a yet unknown fear. The footsteps this young boy will take on his own should have been taken with family near. The weather here is changing and dark clouds are closing in. The boy can't withstand them for long. They remind him his skin is sin. They are sinister like the weather and like a storm that brews within. They wash away childlike innocence, trying to kill the Indian in him. They tried to kill the Indian in the child. They thought he was a savage, untamable and wild. They could not see the Creator's plan for him was the same for you and me. We are meant to walk together on the good red road of beauty. Kill the Indian in the child, they said, and to be sure those teachers tried. No language, no family, no culture. Every night he cried. A forced haircut and a cruel bath, bleaching brown skin into white. Though they tried to kill the Indian survived. Their methods were born of ignorance. Along the way the road got twisted. The boy could not do a single thing right, no matter how hard he listened. The lessons that he learned were not about writing, literature, or math. What will it take before graduation for him to discover a welcoming path? They tried to kill the Indian in the child. They thought he was a savage, untamable, and wild. They could not see the Creator's plan for him was the same for you and me. We are meant to walk together on the good red road of beauty. Oh Canada, you failed your people. Where did you go wrong? Underneath that national anthem, you were not true, free, or strong. You built a railroad to unite this nation and sent your beautiful children to jail. They were beaten, starved, and tortured, and their future was derailed. You get 9 years for rape and drug deals, 9 years for a major crime, or 9 years in residential school to kill the Indian in the child. Generations have been affected and had to remember how to pray, to rediscover a sacred culture and find forgiveness along the way. For years, he spent nights searching for a love he couldn't find, in the walls within his prison, in the eyes that had gone blind. As he found the path to forgiveness, he could leave that pain behind. The grace he knew would save him was in his heart and not his mind. Once punished for sins like laughing, jailed in chicken coops by powers that were, we are walking again on the good red road and creating a new future. We thank the Creator for giving us life and reminding us every day that the enemy who destroyed us once is now the friend with whom we pray. The Indian in that child is the chief of his people today. He is leading his community, showing them grace along the way. They walk towards a new future in this country we all share, so that his 6-year-old grandchild will have no reason to be scared. They tried to kill the Indian in the child. They thought he was a savage, untamable, and wild. They could not see the Creator's plan for him was the same for you and me. We are meant to walk together on the good red road of beauty. Thank you, Creator, for the grace that allowed the people to survive. You can never kill the Indian in the child. Thank you, Creator, for the grace that allowed the people to survive. You can never kill the Indian in the child.